Hello, good morning, everybody. Nice to see you. You are watching on your TVs in Texas and Louisiana on the Smart Money Culture TV network, as well as watching from around the world on great platforms like X and YouTube and all of the rest. It is interesting week, interesting time. I'll tell you what, it has been something else. I've been with family this week, and it's crazy what is going on the major news networks. I mean, I haven't. So after Trump won in 2016, I was a news junkie before that. I used to watch the news all the time, and once he won, I was like getting mad at TV sets. I was getting mad because they would just go on and on and on, and it was he already won. Like, he won, you know what I mean? Like, let's move on. And so I got so frustrated that I just turned it off. And it was a great thing, really interesting point in my life, because I had been really watching the news a lot before then. And so I just turned it off. And I have not turned on the news except for watching, like, State of the Union or something like that since then. Now, of course, I get all my news on X. I see all the clips and stuff like that. So it's not like I'm not in the news. Obviously, I have my finger on everything that's going on. But I turned off that one-way programming device. And it is amazing to watch what is going on, because it's like all those stations are just on and on and on and on and on. And I talked about it yesterday about how Trump is bad and Kamala is winning. And how could this be, this threat to democracy, and this, on and on and on. It is crazy. And I said in the title on X, should these news organizations have to register as foreign agents? And here's my case for that. So John F. Kennedy was assassinated, obviously, and people go on about why he was assassinated. Some people say he was assassinated because of the trying to get off the Federal Reserve. Some say he was assassinated this, assassinated that. One of the things that he did was made the American Zionist Council register as foreign agents with FARA. And a lot of people say that's why he was assassinated. And now they did register. He made them register. They registered. Now, then they had a subsidy called AIPAC, and they went on after he was assassinated to just continue as AIPAC, basically closed the American Zionist Council, I think. But anyway, continued as AIPAC. And that is what we have today. And they never registered as foreign agents. And if you register as foreign agent, basically you're funded by another country. You're funded by a foreign country. So with all of the news stations, all of these news stations being largely funded by the same people, should the news stations have to register as foreign agents? I mean, what we have going on right now in the news, they are acting as campaigns. They're acting as, they're influencing the election. I mean, it's on and on and on and on and on. You can't get away from it. It's crazy. So should they have to register as foreign agents? What do you think? Tell me what you think. I mean, I know it's probably people say, oh, this and that. It's just a real question. I mean, I'm watching on TV, and I cannot believe what I'm seeing. Like, it's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And so then so if you can't get a different point of view on the television set, I mean, besides we're on TV, right? But I mean, on these major news networks, if it's impossible to get another point of view on these news networks, then how does the country move forward? How are we able to do anything? Like, it seems absolutely crazy to me. So that's let me know what you think. I'm interested to hear what you think. So we have a bit of the market's moving up. Silver's up, gold's up slightly. These are slightly. The Dow futures are up. Dow went up yesterday. Everything kind of moved up yesterday. Green across the board in the Asian markets, pretty much. Bitcoin is still under pressure. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Matt will join us here in a minute. We're going to talk about some of them. They don't call it October for no reason, right? I talked about that yesterday. October. And this sideways chop, actually, in the whole scheme of things as well. Good morning to you from backup. Anyway, the sideways chop after, first of all, over the summer is very normal, and then as well, the sideways chop after the halving event is also that way. The other thing I wanted to mention, so Kamala is supposedly moving ahead of Trump. Do you guys believe that? Do you believe it? I will say that I am here with family, and they like her. They like her. Not my immediate family. My immediate family's not like that. But anyway, let's bring on Matt. Let's talk about the markets. Matt, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Bruce. Yeah, good, thank you. I think this Kamala Harris conversation is quite important at the moment. She's actually supposed to be quite hardline on crypto, isn't she? So maybe that's one of the reasons why we're seeing a little bit of pressure for Bitcoin and the rest of them, really.
So. These communist types, they don't like they don't like us to have anything. Like, you're not allowed to own anything. You're not allowed to have anything. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't think that, although I will say that when Biden won was when we had this massive pump. Now, of course, that was fueled by FTX and MicroStrategy and stuff like that. But that was when we had this major pump up to $73, the initial pump. So, the markets can do anything. But yeah, it could be. I mean, right now, almost surprisingly, Trump did pull in and go full crypto. I wasn't really expecting that. I didn't expect him to be kind of so against it years ago. But he was really with the dollar, you know what I mean? But even like, I don't know, I'm sure you listened to the space. Like, he didn't really, I mean, I'm a Trump guy, but he didn't really, either one, he doesn't understand what's causing inflation, or two, he just doesn't want to say it. Because his answer was oil prices are causing inflation, kind of was what he floated, right? And it was like, well, I mean, what? So I don't know. What everybody's got their forte, but that hit me.
It's good to drill into what they're saying, whether it makes sense, and very often it doesn't make sense. And I think we're always looking for excuses, that this political or that political is driving the market this way or that. And we're actually looking for reasons why the market's doing what it's doing.
Right.
When in fact, I've so often said the charts are telling us what's going to happen. And then we we try to find a narrative that supports it.
Yes.
And right now we've got this Kamala Harris, which is, possibly going ahead in the lead right now, which is, potentially a little bit negative, but I'm not sure whether it really makes any difference. I don't think the political landscape has actually affected Bitcoin that much.
I agree. Tend to agree, yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is we've got potentially about $500 million worth of sales hanging over the market, haven't we, from government selling off.
Well, they sent what, 10,000 Bitcoins or something to Coinbase, right? So, and I don't think they've sold, but they've certainly, I mean, who knows? I don't know. But they've certainly given everyone the jitters.
Yeah, I mean, $500 million worth of sales, 10,000 Bitcoin hanging over the market from the Silk Road, claiming those tokens. Basically, it's a big potential sell, and obviously the market's driven by, basically, sales and demand, or effectively supply and demand.
So it's driven by supply and demand, and they're also very emotional. As you always say, the markets can stay irrational more longer than you can stay solvent.
That's correct. That's the famous saying. Yeah. So I'll just go into sharing the screen, just look where we're at. I mean, there has been, surprisingly, actually, after yesterday's CPI, I thought there was going to be more positive response. So, we had
we did have a pretty good move, and especially Toncoin, but then, it seems like everything kind of pulled back afterwards.
Yeah. So you can see there, we did actually push up really nicely on Bitcoin. I think it pushed to about 62,000. Oops, that's not supposed to be a B, is it? It's supposed to be a B, yeah. I'm not going to fill in all of these, but I just want to show you the basic theme of what I'm talking about here. So I did say yesterday that the correction, so we had a wave 1 up, I think, and actually the wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's not all labeled in, but what I've done is labeled that 5 waves up there as a larger wave 1. We're now working, this is on Bitcoin, of course, we're now working on some kind of corrective pullback in wave 2. Now, we were down to about this point yesterday, and I said we could be complete the correction. I think we're actually around here. We could be complete the correction, or we could still have more of the correction to play out. And so we got CPI numbers yesterday, which were actually pretty much of a nothing event, because they came in virtually in line with expectations, still elevated. So it actually tells us that, I think it tells us, for one thing, as we said yesterday, the rate increase is just going to be 25 basis points. Some people have said 50, and I think it's about a 50% chance of it being a 50 basis point rise. But I'm sure that's not going to happen. And I think yesterday's CPI sealed that, because...
So now, did you see some of the articles out there about talking about 1995 and the soft landing and all this stuff?
Yeah, there's more talk of soft landing right now. There's a bit less talk of recession. I've heard some of that stuff. I mean, I do look at the charts historically as well and see what happened and why. And as I said, yesterday, this, wherever it's gone, let me just see. I think I may have deleted it. No, it's here. This the SARM rule recession indicator. As I said, people talk recession. They've talked recession for years, and it's not happened. But we've not had an indication, a technical indication that recession is imminent. But we now have that. And we went through this yesterday, that the SARM indicator is now at 0.53%. And anything above 0.5% tells you recession's coming. Now, that's been reliable every time since the 1960s. Since 1960, in fact, every single recession, we've had this SARM indicator go above 0.5. And we've not had any false positives either. So it's a very highly accurate indicator. Obviously, we can never take anything as 100%, but this looks to me to be as close to 100% as you can get. And we've got those other indications. Clearly, this is based on unemployment, and we have had that unemployment ticking up. And I've always gone on about when unemployment ticks up. This is one of the metrics that the Fed use to determine interest rates. Basically, it's one of the most important things they look at. They'll obviously look at inflation, they look at unemployment. These are the mandates that they have to control these things. So when unemployment picks up, it means they're more likely to lower interest rates. But as I said yesterday, CPI was still highly elevated, way above target. So they've really got a problem, a dilemma on their hands. So they're not going to go 50 or 75 basis points, because that would show they're panicking over one side and not taking into account that inflation is still elevated. So with that in mind, they maybe can't drop rates as much as they'd like to. So that tells me even more so that recession is coming. So you talk about, the soft landings of the past, and that some people have said we're in for a soft landing. I don't see it, not on the data that we've got presented before us. I just don't see it. So just finishing on this, we basically were here yesterday and we pumped up with CPI, and then price came down dramatically. And maybe that was news of the 10,000 Bitcoins being sent to Coinbase and Kamala Harris taking the lead. I don't know. But actually it was expected, or it was certainly a potentially anticipated move here, because we have an ABC down and we also then have an ABC higher. And then you would expect 5 waves or 3. It could be a WXY, or it could be a flat correction, which would be a 335. So what that's telling us is this is still very much a corrective move because we've got massive overlap here. This move down here is overlapped by this move up here and this move up here. It's overlapping. It's corrective. So we had 5 waves up, a corrective move down sideways. We still expect movement higher. So what I said yesterday, we may get some more choppiness short term, which is precisely what's happened. But I'm still confident we're going to see a good push to the upside with a minimum target that is, of around this 70,000 level. But I think we're actually going to sail through and push towards all-time highs for Bitcoin as we get more and more positive news coming through. So I'm still really bullish. I'm long in the market on various tokens. And I think there's amazing opportunity. So Toncoin pulled back a little bit. My computer's taking a moment. Okay, it's still updated. Yeah, it's pulled back a little bit. But that's to be expected. As I said yesterday, we appear to have 5 waves to the upside. So we can clearly see that from the bottom here. Wave 1 to here. Wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. So once you have 5 waves up, you expect there to be some kind of pullback from that 5 waves. So whilst we got this massive pump on Toncoin yesterday, when you get such a massive pump, you do expect, it's just the charts are telling you there's going to be a pullback on the markets. And then, as I say, data tends to fit in with that. So maybe the Bitcoin sell pressure from the government moving coins to Coinbase, maybe that's what caused it. But as I say, the charts are telling you what's going to happen. Then we wait for the data or the narrative to fit in with it. And that's why you'll find market commentators are always searching why. They see a move in the market and say, what could have caused it? And they speculate on what could have caused it. Sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're right. So we don't really know what the reasons are. This is why I rely so much on charts, because they actually tell me in advance, really. They're much more accurate at telling me what is going to happen. It doesn't really matter why it happens, does it?
Right.
It doesn't matter to a trader why. Sorry, Bruce, I missed you there.
I said, yes, correct. Absolutely.
Glad you agree. Yeah. So here's the dollar index. Again, we saw quite a push down yesterday. At least inflation didn't pick up. It's still soft. We're still on that support line. So I told you we're within, and I'll just show that. Just show you how powerful these support lines are. You can see we down here was where we established support. We went higher, put the resistance overhead, tested that support, resistance overhead, tested support. We have resistance overhead. I actually do think that we'll probably push a little bit higher. There isn't a direct correlation. There's a kind of causal thing when we see weaker dollar. But as I say, we've had some complications recently with the yen carry trade, and that caused an upset to the relationship between the dollar and risk assets. And so, for example, we saw a fall off in the dollar, which actually coincided with the fall off in the price of risk assets. Now, that's not normally the case. So these correlations do break down sometimes, depending on what the news is out there. So the fact that the Japanese raised rates when the rest of the world is looking at lowering rates caused a real upset to the market, and it caused quite a sell-off on the dollar, but also a sell-off on risk assets because it's an unwinding of the carry trade, which means money is coming out of risk assets and back to the yen. So we're seeing dollar weakness and risk asset weakness. So that's why things were just a little bit different this time around. So this looks like I think we're going to be pushing a little bit higher on the dollar, but then potentially, let's just see, A, B, C, D, E. Yeah, we could then break down on the dollar, and that's probably to be expected. If we do get some lower interest rates in the future, we'd probably expect a dollar breakdown. And that's why I probably won't show it again, although maybe I will, because it's such an amazing indicator of what, how powerful Bitcoin is. I'll have to scroll back a little bit to find it. But, this, I've shown this the last 2 shows now. I just think it's so powerful that, Bitcoin is actually the hard currency. The US dollar is the soft currency. And we can see that because the US dollar has been devaluing. I mean, you could use houses as the currency. These things can be treated as the currency. You can use house as basically the benchmark, and you say the dollar has devalued. So basically you need more dollars to buy your house, your unit. So that means dollar has devalued, house has stayed stable. But the hardest of these currencies, you look at housing, you look at US dollar, and you look at Bitcoin, you can actually treat every one of them as effectively a store of value, or in some ways a currency. They don't all have those characteristics of a currency. Not even Bitcoin, in fact, at this stage. It's more of a currency than houses, but you can treat them in some ways as a currency, or certainly as a store of value. The best store of value by far here in the past, how long has this been? 8 years, past 8 years, has clearly been Bitcoin. Because if you look at the value of a house in dollars, well, obviously dollars depreciated massively. But if you look at it in terms of Bitcoin, Bitcoin has appreciated massively. And as we said yesterday, I think it's worth reiterating that we've seen basically something like a 50% reduction in the value of the dollar over that time compared to a house. And yet we've seen basically a 99% appreciation of Bitcoin compared with a house, using that as the hard currency.
It's amazing. Crazy. I mean, it's such a great graphic for people to look at, because whether you think it's going to go to $1 million or not, it does look like it's going to get less. It's going to probably be 4 Bitcoins or 3 Bitcoins. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So for those people saving for retirement, we're not advocating putting all your eggs in one basket and putting everything into Bitcoin, but certainly holding some Bitcoin. If you're saving for retirement and you're putting your money into US dollars, maybe into treasury bonds and getting a very low percentage on your money, don't forget you need to deduct inflation from that to look at the real buying power of your US dollars. And the buying power has not really done anything much because inflation has been eroding the returns that you would get. But Bitcoin, the buying power has massively appreciated. As we can see, you can buy effectively a lot more houses for your Bitcoin than you used to be able to. So that proves to me that Bitcoin, every portfolio should be diversified. No portfolio should be 100% in one asset. Bitcoin has certainly had periods of downturn and long periods of crypto winters, etc. But longer term, Bitcoin has outperformed everything. But even so, don't put everything into Bitcoin, because your financial needs are not just long term and they're not just short term. They're short, medium, and long. And that's how you need to think about structuring your portfolio. Think about what your financial needs are now, medium term, and in the distant future. Then you can structure your portfolio in an appropriate way. And you probably need to speak to a financial advisor to really determine where your assets should be. But what we're saying is that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency should form a part of any well-diversified portfolio. And actually, in addition to that, we believe gold and precious metals should form part of any well-diversified portfolio. And I know Bruce on this Impact Money show has talked a lot about these alternative assets, cryptocurrency, gold, silver. And these are the things that are kind of a foundation or a building block of any portfolio. They should be part of any portfolio. And just before I leave this was the news on the government moves $500 million to Coinbase. So I said, despite better inflation data prompting calls to the Fed to lower rates, Bitcoin is experiencing selling as Kamala Harris is leading the presidential race with a harder stance on crypto regulation. But there's also substantial government sales hanging over the market. So that's why we're seeing, I think, we're looking for some reasons. I guess we have to give some reasons. That's why the market's under a bit of pressure, but I think it's temporary pressure, because I think the market is still bullish. And just going to Bitcoin, again, we can see that we're in some kind of maybe expanding triangle here. And I think we had the A, B, C, D, E. E wave, the only one allowed to overshoot, which is precisely what happened. We moved up in wave 1. We're moving down now perfectly nicely and acceptably in wave 2. So we can now see that wave 1 up there. I'll just try and expand it a bit more so you can see it. We can now see the wave 1 up very clearly, and the ABC for the first wave, ABC for the second wave, and then some kind of further move down to finish wave 2. This can go a bit deeper. It doesn't have to go just here. It can go deeper. But what we're saying is that following this corrective move, we should expect higher in the market. And as I say, at least the 70,000-ish, probably way beyond. And there's so many people now calling for Bitcoin $1 million. Who's to say that's not going to happen? It can certainly happen. And especially if people do start reallocating, particularly institutions. And we've said again, with the futures coming, the ETF futures, there's going to be so much more liquidity, so much more interest in Bitcoin. And bearing in mind, as we're again always saying, there's only 21 million Bitcoin ever going to be in existence. Probably only 19 point something million actually, because Bruce lost the rest. But apart from that, there's only a limited number in existence. So as more and more people take an interest in trading Bitcoin, and this futures will really ignite the interest amongst hedge funds. So hedge funds will want to trade it. They can trade both ways, admittedly, but they will be holding Bitcoin and probably hedging against it also using the futures contracts. But this will ignite much more institutional interest in Bitcoin, and probably Ethereum will come almost the same time or shortly after. Then that will mean that the demand for those mere 19 odd million Bitcoins will just be increasing and be soaked up. So who cares if the government sell off 10,000 Bitcoin right now? Yes, a temporary little dip in price. And usually those dips, by the way, happen on the new, on the rumor. So right now, it's a rumor. It's not a rumor. I mean, it's a fact, I guess. But the government have just moved Bitcoin to Coinbase. So it's a rumor because they're not yet sold. But the market is selling off in anticipation of that. When they're actually sold, then the bad news has already gone out. It's already, so the next thing they're looking forward to is people starting to buy that Bitcoin. So this is why the market's selling off now in anticipation. So basically, it's the rumor. But when the fact actually happens, the market should then rally. So it's not such a negative thing at all. It's probably good to get those sales out of the market. And effectively, it's like the government are weak hands, paper hands, as they call it, because probably they should be holding on to those Bitcoin.
I mean, they should definitely be holding on to those Bitcoins, but we're probably better off if they sell them.
Yeah, I mean, we've just shown that Bitcoin has been by far the best appreciating asset over, well, certainly over the last 8 years, but more than that, way more than that, in fact. So it's been the best asset by far. Now we're getting all this institutional interest. So as I said, right at the beginning of our shows now, getting on for a year ago now, that basically we'd had retail had taken us from 0 to 69,000. And that now we have institutional, which will take us from 69,000. Yes, we're getting a bit of a pullback, which you'd expect, but from 69,000 possibly to much, much higher. So that institutional interest should take us much higher. We know it's massively outperformed, but the government, as per usual, do all the wrong things, or all the things at the wrong time. So the government, the UK government in particular, is one that I'm obviously very much painfully aware of. Gordon Brown, our Prime Minister at the time, a number of years ago now, sold off British gold reserves. So all of our gold reserves, or a large proportion of them, at very, very low. When gold hit the rock bottom, that's when government sold. And then gold started to appreciate after the government sold off our reserves. So I think it was only something like $300 an ounce they sold off our gold reserves.
Oh my gosh.
And it's now almost $2,500 an ounce. So the government messed up royally, and they did what they usually do. They sold at precisely the wrong time. So maybe that's a good tool for trading. Maybe we should look at that as an indicator. Look at what government do and then do the opposite. Maybe that we'll need to look into that one.
Yeah.
Because, so like
a reverse Kramer with the government.
So if the government is selling off Bitcoin now, maybe it's time to buy. So worth looking into. Actually, I think I might do that bit of research at some point. Just look at all the government decisions regarding financial issues and just see if they did the wrong things at the wrong time. Now, I do know that regulators are absolutely famous for doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. So what they tend to do is, as we say, they close the stable door after the horse has bolted. So they're not proactive in making good regulation in advance. What they do is they wait for a problem to happen and they try to close the door after it's happened, and it's just too late. So they're not forward looking at all. And this is why they're so useless at predicting the markets. And this is why, even the Fed, I don't think have a very good record of managing interest rates. And I certainly think this time round, there's a lot to be desired with the financial policies of money printing, which I actually don't believe. Yes, it's covered up the cracks. It's done wonderfully superficially, but that is the word, superficially. Fundamentally, money printing can't be a good thing. To create so much debt, it's going to just devalue the dollar further at some point, and that's the big concern. And that's why Bitcoin's the place to be. So not talked a lot about crypto. I know I've been going on a little bit. So some people call me the preacher, hopefully in a nice way. So we'll just flip through the currencies very quickly and see where we're at. So again, Ethereum is looking like a bit of a corrective pullback here. We can see it's not particularly impulsive. It's not, there's no impulsive downward movement, very much overlapping again. So I think we're going to see more upside on Ethereum. As you said, gold is pumping a little bit, and gold is obviously it's a hedge against inflation. So if we're seeing, we saw CPI stay stable yesterday. I was hoping for a drop. It didn't drop. It just stayed the same. So not much news, but gold ticked up a little bit. So gold's a hedge against inflation. It's also some kind of hedge against geopolitical risk. And we still are seeing some concerns. I do understand that things are still coming toward the boil in the Middle East, with Lebanon in particular, with Hezbollah and Israel.
Well, and now too, there's another $30 billion that was approved by Blinken, Secretary of State. Now, I think I haven't really been able to dig into it that much. I'm on vacation this week as well, but I think that it has to be approved by both houses of Congress, and they'll probably include that in a larger, another $100 billion bill that will include Taiwan and Ukraine and all that stuff. But it just it's just another signal that, I was on the show yesterday thinking, I don't think we're going into World War III and, this and that. And then, as you said, well, I'm not so optimistic. And then 3 hours later, I'm like, well, shoot, man, I don't know. Maybe we are.
Yeah, you see, it's not just geopolitical problems internationally. Even internally, we have certainly political problems in every country really now, because, this money printing, it's caused a greater disparity of wealth, or a greater wealth gap between the rich and the poor. So we've said that basically when they print money, as they have with the QE, it goes mainly into the hands of the wealthy, and it's the poor who suffer, because the poor haven't got spare capital to invest in assets which are going to pump because of the money printing. They're living almost hand to mouth. In fact, I think it's more than 50% of Americans live effectively month to month on their wages. They spend all the wages. They've got zero savings, and they rely on the next month's wages just to survive. So they clearly have nothing whatsoever to invest in Bitcoin or risk assets. So when you get money printing, clearly
it taxes them. It's a tax on the poor. It's a tax on the working people. The people that are in the US dollar, that's who gets taxed when they dilute the money supply the most.
So they're getting taxed, and the wealthier are getting wealthier, because they're the ones who basically receiving all the handouts and using this extra printed money effectively to pile into risk assets, and the risk assets appreciate. And if they're investing in Bitcoin, for example, we know Bitcoin's been appreciating massively more than the dollar, but the poorer people are having to just manage day to day, month to month, whatever, on the US dollar, spending it all, saving nothing. So that wealth gap is just widening. So this is why we're seeing the social unrest, for example, in the UK is not just a racial thing. There's a lot of disquiet and discomfort about the dire financial situation that everyone lives in. They live hand to mouth effectively, and it's just been the rich getting richer. These sort of things do not continue indefinitely, and so there will be more unrest, unfortunately, unless the governments open their eyes.
Well, that's a really interesting point, because I can tell you from over here, especially I guess on X, not so much on TV, but on X, everybody gets whenever they see those protests in the streets and everything. People get emotional and they look at it. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into that stuff. And I'm glad you brought that up because I mean in the UK they've done the same thing as they've done over here. Diluted the money supply. There's this major disparity, and we have basically 5 classes now. We have the ultra wealthy, which are wealthy behind most people's wildest dreams. You have now the upper class making probably between 200 to 500 or something like that. Or no, then you have the wealthy, and then you have the working class, which is really like 150 to 500,000, and then you have the working class, and they're the ones really that are just hand to mouth, and then the poor, are basically living off the government, and that it's huge disparity. It's massive.
And the working class tend to be the majority. Just we're taking a quick look at the S&P 500. We did smash through that overhead resistance at the time. We smashed through it. Now, remember, I always say when you smash through resistance, what you often get is actually a retest of that resistance on the way down, which was resistance before we broke through. Now it becomes support. So what often happens is you blast through a resistance level, which then turns to support. So we often get a price reversal to then retest that support before it heads off higher again. So we had a clear ABC down. I do think that we've moved up quite nicely now. And at some point, it's highly likely we're going to get a retest of this support. It's not much lower, not much lower at all, but we could get a retest of support before we then head up higher. So I'm very bullish because this is just ABC down and we're expecting a new all-time high for the S&P 500. But just short term, I think we could get a bit more negativity in the markets across the board, really. So it just shows maybe it's not just Bitcoin related to do with these government sales or potential sales. It is risk assets across the board that may be getting a bit of a correction because we may get, and I think we're seeing early signs of potential little pullback, probably to retest this, what's now support, and then we head higher. So I think most markets, it's not a reason to panic. I think we may get a little bit of a pullback. And we've seen that on Solana again. Yesterday, I did mention that this 5-wave move up, which was a clear 5-wave move, remember, the correction can theoretically go all the way down to the bottom of this wave. It's highly unlikely. It is unlikely, but it's possible. But I think we've had an A, a B, and a C, and the C wave may have a little bit lower to go potentially. Let's just see. But I still think we're bullish Solana. So I really am excited Solana. I think we've got much higher to go. And then Toncoin, just focusing on that again, we did look at it earlier, but we have had a nice little pullback. I'm just looking to see if there's any particular divergences. There's actually nothing I can see in terms of divergence at the moment. So the reason, just to show I can't see any, for example, we've got higher highs on price, but we've also got corresponding higher highs on RSI. So that tells us there's no divergence. As against this previous movement here, we saw lower highs on price and we saw corresponding higher highs on RSI. So that was telling us a hidden bearish divergence, which told you the downward movement to come, which is precisely what happened. But I can't actually see any divergences at present. So I'll probably wait to see. That's one of the main indicators I use, not alone, not in isolation, but I will use divergence, and then I'll look at other supporting indicators to see if that divergence measure is supported. But at the moment, I don't see any divergence at all. So even from here to here, we can see basically higher lows on the price and higher lows on RSI. So I don't see any divergences at all in place. So there's no particular indicator, no particular reason for me to be entering the markets at this stage. But having said that, as I say, with Bitcoin, I think this is corrected to the downside. So if you were to enter this trade, as I say, the risk is right down to here. So the risk is to 49,000 and the price now is 58,000. So the risk is 9,000 to the downside, and the upside, we're talking a minimum, say, to 70, it's 12,000 upside. So for me, right now, that's not brilliant risk reward. So I would not be entering the market because we're almost 1-for-1 risk reward. So obviously we can go much, much higher than here, but we can potentially also go lower if this is invalidated. So the realistic choices are, this would be the low and this would be the high. We're almost in the middle. So for me, it makes no sense from a risk reward perspective to enter a new trade. But if we do drop lower on Bitcoin, then risk reward, the lower it gets, the better the risk reward ratio. So the risk is, as I say, below here, and the reward is here. So if we drop lower, we'd have a smaller risk to the downside and a bigger risk to the upside. And so that would change the risk reward. But I'm just saying right now, trying to give an indication of what I think and why I think it. So we can move on whenever, Bruce, because I know you have so many other things to do, but I can continue to flip through. So we'll look at Doge, one of his favorites. Again, a bit of a corrective move from the top. So we clearly have a small impulse there. That's probably an A wave, some kind of B wave there. So maybe a little bit lower in a C wave before we push higher again. So once again, I'd probably wait for a little bit lower before I jump into, before I even consider jumping into Doge. Shiba, another great one. Again, looking highly corrective to the downside, maybe a little bit more of a correction to the downside before higher. So one of the only ones bucking the trend right now, well, there's a couple actually, but one's book of memes here is looking, is slightly positive, showing, where is it? 0.98%, so basically 1% higher today. I like book of memes, but I'm just a bit concerned that we may see this turn into a little bit more downside. This appears to be an A, a B, and I do think maybe a bit more downside. So then from risk reward, my risk would be here at this low point here. That's the risk. So basically I put my stop losses just below, targeting way higher up here. So I would still potentially wait for a bit lower, somewhere down here perhaps, and then my risk reward is going to look amazing. And I'd like to jump into book of memes then. I think it'd be an amazing opportunity. So
yeah, you know, the one that's been going really well over the last 24 hours is Litecoin.
Litecoin, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Let's just have a scroll out a little bit. Sometimes it's good to get a clearer picture by looking at the big picture first, and then you can look at the shorter time frames. But yeah, we basically had potentially some kind of ABC or WXY. I think it's actually a WXY correction if I were to scroll out even more. Let's just see. Yeah, hard to say with its ABC. Probably anyway. There is a correction from the top. It looks like I don't see it being particularly impulsive at all. All this overlapping. So, for example, this move up here overlapped this move down here. So it tells me it's corrective. So I do think there's a lot more upside to come. Yeah, you're right. Litecoin has bucked the trend quite nicely, up 1.3% today. So we can see if we open it out again, a nice, quite a nice green candle so far today. Yeah, it's looking nice, but it's, we'll see. I still expect there to be probably a little bit of downside, but there's lots of upside potential to come for Litecoin. If we do burst above the previous highs up there, we're looking way, way higher, right above that, the start of that A wave. So potentially at some point, we're looking above 112. We're now 64 something. So we're close to 100% potential upside there. So again, I actually anticipate maybe a little bit of a pullback on Litecoin before we then push higher. So risk reward, the risk would be here again, at 49.90. So, you know, about $50 area. So just below that would be the risk. So if we do drop a little bit lower, then potentially risk reward is looking amazing, potentially 100% up and just a small percentage down. So I do think Litecoin has tremendous potential. And who knows? We talked about Solana and XRP being the next potential ETFs. Who knows? Litecoin could be in the mix as well. It's quite a possibility.
True.
So finally, we'll probably visit XRP. Just again, we do appear to be in some kind of corrective move down. And once that correction is complete, I expect some really good upward movement from XRP. So once again, to summarize, I really think that the markets are looking nice. I think they're probably going to pull back a little bit further, but not a lot further in percentage terms compared with the potential upside. So right now, I think risk reward is looking very, very attractive. Just interestingly, a final thing, ADA, I understand Elon Musk was supposed to be visiting the Cardano founder, but it doesn't appear to have had any positive effect at all on the price.
Wow.
Price down 0.6%. So it's interesting just hearing some of these little rumors and snippets that you get from within the industry. Sometimes they have big effects, sometimes not, but clearly not in this particular case. But favorites for us, I think, would still be some of those volatile coins with real potential. And, you know, we looked at the technicals, the fundamentals, as it were, of ICP. Again, we may have a little bit more downside. We did have some kind of bullish divergence here, which we did get a movement up from that bullish divergence. There's no particular divergences in play right now, but so we could get a bit further pullback again. We'd then look for maybe for another divergence situation if we get that. ICP has tremendous potential to the upside. So all in all, positive for the market, expecting good things, especially as we get closer and closer to the next interest rate decision. But we need to keep a close eye on data, of course. Don't think there's any major data out today as far as I'm aware. I don't know whether you've kept a...
No, I don't think there's any major data out either. Just a bunch of fake news. That's it.
Yeah. So
it's funny.
I've stopped sharing the screen, but I'm just going to check on any data releases today while we're just chatting.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been with family this week, and they're watching all the news channels, and man, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I can't believe people watch that stuff all the time. I used to, but
yeah, we have actually got retail sales out later today, which is actually quite important.
Yes.
They're expected to pick up. We had flat retail sales last month. They're actually forecast to rise 0.3%. So this may be a fractional negative on the risk assets, because if retail sales are picking up again, it just shows maybe inflation is still an issue. And you see, if retail sales are picking up, it means that people can actually, retailers can actually raise prices, so potentially putting more upward pressure on inflation. So that's why it's not necessarily a good sign, although we do want to see healthy retail sales. It's just maybe not too hot. So let's watch for that one today. That's out very shortly, in just over an hour's time. So,
well, all right. So that could be we could see a nice pump after that too. A lot of times they like to move the markets down before, so that could be interesting.
Yeah,
we're down.
Yeah,
we'll see what the numbers say.
Yeah, next move. Let's just see. Next news after that. Well, there's not an awful lot. I mean, we've got FOMC minutes on, I think, the 21st of August. So that usually is a bit of interest just to see what the FOMC minutes had to say. There's not a lot. We're actually a bit low on news, and we are in the summer months, which are kind of always or usually quiet months.
Yes.
They're not being that quiet this time, but I think that things will pick up once we get through to September. I think that's when the markets pick up. September, then October, as Bruce says.
October. That's what I'm waiting for. Take your positions for October. Buy the dips. That's my strategy over these months here, over the dog days of summer going into this election.
Yeah, I mean, 10 days away now. About 10 days, we've got durable goods orders. Now, last time round, they were minus 6.6%. So that was the weakest they've been in over a year. In over a year. So let's just see. Durable goods orders will be quite interesting. So retail sales today, durable goods orders in 10 days, FOMC minutes in a few days' time. So little bits of news, nothing majorly important. So I think markets will just continue to chop in these quiet summer months, waiting for the next interest rate decision, which is when the fireworks will really start.
Yep.
So that's
Awesome.
a wrap for today. Again, been a pleasure to be with you, Bruce. Thank you for the
Always. Thank you very much. Awesome market report. And we will look forward to we'll look forward to wrapping up the week.
Fantastic. Tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Enjoy. Cheers. The great Matt Dixon with his market report. This is world-class reports that we have here on the markets, covering everything from stocks to oil, gold, everything that is important, everything that matters. We are covering. And yes, I just had a chat. Yes, 9th grade. Once I'm talking, it's a little harder to continue. 9th grade for Bella. Bella is my 9th grader. You probably watched my little Bella grow up. I'm always sharing different videos, skating and singing and everything else. It's a lot of fun. Penelope actually, going to fifth grade, I think, going to 5th grade. She was just Gretel and the Sound of Music. That was a lot of fun too. So yeah, I tell people all the time, don't miss the moment, guys. If you can, don't miss the moment, because the family is a lot of fun. If you do, it's okay. We're all a product of our time, and it's not for everybody, but if you can, it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun with it. So another one that is outperforming the market, my friends, is Polka Gold. Polka Gold is outperforming the market considerably, up 4.5% on more skating, please. Okay, so still waiting for you and Emmy skating. A recent video. Okay, so here's a funny thing about Emmy and I skating. So they redid one of our ice rinks, and it's taken like 2 years or so to rebuild it. And everybody, including us, they want a performance during the opening of it. And we're definitely toying it. It'd be a lot of fun to do. It'd be easy for me, of course. I think she'd have to practice. It'd be easy for me. No, I'm kidding. It'd be a lot of fun looking at some of our old programs and stuff. Skating is fun. Doing sports is fun. Skating is fun. Dancing, with somebody is fun. That's a lot of cool stuff. I will definitely. I think we'll probably do it. So it'll be the funny part will be that we might make our old program, a little easier, but we'll see. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun skating. That was one of the best things I ever did. Really, was skating. I got to take my wife around the world with me on blades. I took a few people around the world with me over my years, and I told my daughter, I said, nothing would make me more happy than to be able to take you around the world on skates as well. So we'll see. They're doing their deal. Life is funny, and we're working on it. So let me just share my screen here on the Polka Gold, because the Polka Gold is doing good here. It's up just slightly on the daily, US dollar wise, 0.4. But if you look at this number right here on BTC, it's up 4.6%. And so that's Bitcoin is down, but Polka Gold has bucked the trend, similar to Litecoin, although Litecoin might have been a bit higher. Polka Gold, guys, this is completely backed with liquidity in Algorand. I talk about them all the time because I am a big supporter and I'm a holder and all of that stuff of Polka Gold for those reasons. And so I talk about it every day because I think that it's just, if you're going to get into crypto, this is a good one to hold, and not financial advice and all that stuff that I'm supposed to say, okay? These are risky assets and everything, but Polka Gold, distant relative to Polkadot, LOL. Sorry, it's like, haha. Well, it is actually true more than you know. So Polkadot is a major currency, and a polka dot whale or whales and Algorand, which is also another blue chip cryptocurrency that people build different things on. They got together and they made polka gold, and they stayed anonymous as well. It's anonymous. And so it says polka gold emerges as a digital parallel to traditional gold, encapsulating trust and reliability in the digital age. Limited to a Genesis production of only 10 million coins, polka gold is designed to uphold principles of scarcity and non-inflation, and it's available on Tinyman. I always post, if you go over to their page, I post how to buy it, and I'll continue to do that. But what they did was they took a bunch of Algorand and they locked it in liquidity pools, and they also locked some euros and this and that and the other. And so the market cap of polka gold right now is like almost on par. It's almost exactly the amount of liquidity that they have. I mean, this is like crazy town for people. Okay, this is crazy stuff. Doesn't usually happen like this, but they built this, and that's what they have, and that's how they're able to do stuff like this. I mean, this is crazy talk right here, guys. A key differentiator of P Gold is none of the 410%. Okay, I got to start with this one. If you have Algo and not sure how to put it to work, Algo is, of course, what they built it on. Okay, Algorand. To supply Algo liquidity to P Gold and earn 410% annual percentage yield. So let me say that again. 410% annual percentage yield. That's crazy. Now, the interesting part about this as well is, so and to do this, you go with Algo, Tinyman, and polka gold, and you farm them simultaneously. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to do a video with a couple of the guys. I did it before, and we might go through how you can do this, okay? But look at this. So 90% of the TVL is locked forever. And then you can see here, let me see here. All right, I'm going to go back there. Then the interesting part about this is a key differentiator for P Gold is none of the 410% of the annual percentage yield is generated by supply inflation. Very important here, because if you have an asset, I'm going to pull this out up in a minute. I just want to be able to say this right to you. If you have an asset and you're staking that asset, and then they're paying you in that asset, then that can have a negative effect on the market because people are selling it off, right, in order to turn it into US dollars or whatever. And as well, if you're just making new currency, remember there's only 10 million polka golds ever, okay? So, but if you're just generating more, and then you have, 11 million and 12 million and 13 and 14 and 15, on and on, then of course that dilutes the market, the supply, just like they're doing with the US dollar now, and brings the value down, okay? So it's important, and that's why they brought this up right here. They said, look, this is important. The key differentiator for P Gold is none of the 410%, guys, 410% annual percentage rate, the APY yield, is generated by supply inflation. All 10 million P Gold were released on day one to the public, and the liquidity pool was burnt by DOT and Algo wells as a true commodity of the people. New coins can't enter circulation. There's zero inflation on this. So I am a big proponent of it. Guys, like I said, I am long, and all that stuff I'm supposed to say, these risky assets and everything like that. But this is a really nice one. Now, they did launch their official, their own meme coin, which of course Algo is what it trades at, okay? And Dalgo is their official meme coin. And this is they did like the same thing. This is the most liquid coin on Algorand, and it's all locked. So when you look at this one, right, Dalgo, what they did was they locked up over 10% of the supply of polka gold, and they put it in the liquidity pools, same type of thing, burned it. You can't ever get it out. It's there, right? And so they started, and so it has a floor, So the only way you can get Dalgo is to buy it. That's it. So they have those liquidity pools in there, and Algorand, of course, that's locked with Polka Gold, and now we have Polka Gold that's locked in with Dalgo, and this thing is really set to run, especially as we start to go into October, which is what I've been talking about. As we start to go into October, Algorand goes on another run. Algorand is about 12 cents right now, maybe a little less at the moment. It goes back up to 20, 30 cents, even more. I think an all-time high on Algorand. Let me just pull that up real quick. But you can see fun. It is a fun meme coin. The thing about these meme coins is that they're just great. They're great marketing tools. So the all-time high on Algorand is over $3. So it's about 12 cents now, 11.92 or something like that. If you're watching on Instagram, we only get an hour on Instagram and then they cut us off. So sorry, broadcast just cut off. Of course, you can't hear me if you're watching on Instagram. So anyway, Dalgo and Polka Gold. I am a big supporter of these assets. Now, another one that I wanted to talk about, of course, is Coin Vigilante watches. These watches are absolutely fantastic. Again, I'm on vacation, so mine's right over there on that thing. But beautiful American-made watches. Coin Vigilante. CoinVigilante.com. Let me just pull them up here on banners. CoinVigilante.com. Go there. Put in the code Impact Money. Impact Money. Get yourself a 10% discount. 10% discount on these beautiful American-made watches. These are part and parcel of the Bitcoin monetary revolution. Beautiful watches. And of course, Bitcoin Ben, the infamous Bitcoin Ben, is a big supporter here of these Coin Vigilante watches. Great family as well behind these. Carlos is he's a true American guy, and he's done a really great job with this as well. Coin Vigilante watches. Check them out. CoinVigilante.com. Get yourself a 10% discount. If you're watching on YouTube or X, right underneath the post, you can just click the link even, and I think it auto fills it out for you. Coin Vigilante watches. Make sure to check them out. Now, one of the other things that you might see there on the on that list that we are supporting is the Tangem wallets. Okay, so if you go to tangem.com, you're going to see that we have a hardware wallet that we are backing. Use the code discount money there as well. Okay, get your Tangem wallet. You can store all kinds of different cryptocurrency on there. It's sleek. It's safe. It's all these. I guess it's supposed to be safe. You get your keys. Okay, so yeah, it's safe, right? You get your keys. Not your keys, not your coins. We always say. Okay, so this is a hardware wallet. Tangem is redefining the wallet experience by delivering top-level security, simplicity, and accessibility. Enjoy complete autonomy and independence while managing your assets with a single tap. The Tangem wallet breaks down barriers for crypto newcomers and enhances the custodial experience for advanced users. You can see this really nice here. So you can pick that up at Tangem, TANGEM.com. You can follow the link if you're watching on one of the places where we have the link underneath. Follow that link. It should auto-fill the discount for you. $50-$60 you can get it. They also have this ring, which is really cool. The ring is really cool. And you can get that and use it. And use it to store your crypto. And so the ring comes with 2 cards as well. So you get 2 of the cards, Okay, and then they're adding Visa and everything else, a way to spend your crypto, which is always really important. But you get your different things. You get the ring that you can use, and then you also have the 2 backup cards so you can use there. So I'm going to play this. This is Stephen Melnick. I did an interview with Stephen Melnick a little bit ago, and he talks about his Lives Amplified system. Big supporter here of Lives Amplified. Impact money to join over there as well. Very high level network, business network, and I talk about it here. My friend Stephen Melnick here. Let me just cue him up. Boom, and here we go. And we are back. I have a very special guest with me today, longtime friend. I know I've been teasing it now for a few days on the Impact Money Show. A good friend of mine, man, I have a lot of respect for, Stephen Melnick. Stephen Melnick is he is a diplomat. He's a world leader. He's a businessman. He's a family man. He's all of those things. I'll let him introduce himself a bit more. But we met years ago in Washington, D.C., and have been both doing very special things as we move forward. Stephen Melnick, Dr. Stephen Melnick, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for coming on. How are you?
Oh, fantastic, Bruce. It's always a treat to see you, and it's always a pleasure.
Well, it was really an amazing moment when you reached out to me the other day. And I know, we've gone back and forth over the years. Life happens. I'm on one side of the world. You're on one side of the world, like ships in the night as we go, right? But you reached out and you have put together this with help. I see this Lives Amplified program, livesamplified.org, and it's super special. And this is a brand that you've been working with for a long time, right? Lives Amplified. So tell me a little bit, first of all, about what brought you to this point, and then a little bit more about Lives Amplified.
Sure. Well, just minor correction, but it's a major in my mind. This is not something that I put together. I mean, something like that on the global scale, of course, it requires a lot of people, and there's been a group that's been working together for quite some time, which we could talk about in a bit. But it is amazing, and the whole concept of elevating humanity, amplifying lives. I mean, at the end of the day, this is what gives all of us sustainable happiness, right? I mean, we satisfy our own needs, but then the mind always needs something else. But when we kind of take care of others, that's very sustainable. And so it's been a theme of my life for quite some time. And you're correct. And even when we met originally in Washington, D.C., that has been the theme as well. And so we kind of continue in that direction. And but as we all evolve, and as the world evolves around us, of course, what and how we do follows. So this is yet another element and another chapter in the evolution of trying to create a platform where we all are able to come in and do what we do, but on the kind of higher impact level. In terms of how I got to it, I mean, we had, I remember originally when we met, we had kind of a very interesting conversation in this regard. But I'm originally from Ukraine. I came as a refugee over 30 years ago, and so the concept of working with people who come from nothing and want to get somewhere, it's not a theoretical conversation in my life. And yeah, and it's been an amazing ride. I'm grateful to this country. I got education here. I worked with the world's largest consulting firm and focused on capital markets, and did my stint, as they said, and it was quite uniquely successful. And the firm sponsored me to all these executive degree programs, actually, in the first time in the history of this world's largest firm, which was really humbling and honoring experience. And I served as an advisor to one of the subgroups of U.S. Treasury Department when I led this initiative in my firm for kind of dealing with financial crimes and other things. And then ultimately I decided, this was nice, and it's time kind of for semi-retirement, although it was rather early age. And I wanted to give back, so I went back to academia to give back to the school where, I kind of started this whole journey once I immigrated to this wonderful country, and I've been there for over 25 years. As this is the largest business school in the United States, and I'm honored and proud to be there as a tenured professor, programs director, which I actually helped build.
No, wait, what university is that?
It's part of City University of New York. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's out of New York City, yeah, so it's been a real treat, and it's been real blessing. And I served in many capacities to give back in any way and every way I can, including as a regulator, as a chair of, or also a member of executive committee of AICPA that regulates CPAs and personal financial planning professionals, U.S., Canada, and kind of many other roles, and founded actually a bar association for attorneys, first from Eastern Europe, and then it became national. So that was a real treat. And was coming up for tenure, was asked to write a book, which did really well and became bestseller in multiple categories. So it's been a long journey, and ultimately what got me to do what I do around the world is really my students, frankly speaking. After the first class of each semester, there would always be a few students who would come to me and say something along the lines of, Professor Malik, we appreciate you teaching law and business and all that other stuff, but we Googled you and you came here just like just like we did, with nothing, as an immigrant, and just teach us how to be successful. I mean, you've done this on Wall Street and academia, and I had my own TV radio show of some time in the community and other things, and bar association and publication. Like, how does it happen? And I never had a good answer to them, and ultimately, it translated into something that I ended up calling counterintuitive intelligence, basically, and taught it around the world, as you may remember. We met actually in a few places around the world when I was giving these talks, and ended up coaching some of the Fortune 500 executives, and then ended up, as an advisor to a few presidents, prime ministers, and as they say, the rest is history. And then I was asked to participate in global leaders forums, and my co-director, ran Davos events, World Economic Forum, for many, many years, Dr. Richter. And so it's been also a blessing. So we've been putting together heads of states and help promote countries and bring opportunities into the countries into the world. And it's I thank God every day I wake up. It's a blessing to be able to do these things and meet amazing people like yourself who do incredible work. By the way, compliments to you on your programming. I have been watching, and it's wonderful. People need information, and the more the better.
Well, I appreciate it. I think one of the things that you do so well, and I see it as a theme, even if you look at world leaders, is you connect, and you connect with world leaders, you connect with the workers. You are able to connect, and maybe part of that comes from being a refugee, right? And then coming up through, and then as a tenured professor, as you say, I mean, it's a heck of a journey, right? Anybody would be proud of it. And then continuing to help more people, and that's that's something else. That's I won't name someone's names at the moment, but when you look at some of these successful politicians, when you look at some of these successful people in the world, that's what they're able to do. They're able to connect. People feel like they relate to them, even if they don't have anything in common with them, right? In a way, like they have way more money than them. They have connections that they don't have, but they're able to connect with those people. And you've done that very well over the years. My compliments on that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's always nice and beneficial to have been there and have done that, right? And so whoever we engage with, especially if you really want to have an impact, you have to work with masses, right? But you have to understand the pain and suffering people go through. And, I mean, my first shopping in the United States for furniture happened in Brooklyn, in Ocean Parkway. And and it was every Monday, by the way, because that's when people would put out furniture they wanted to throw out, literally. And that was our furniture. That's how we started. And my first job when I came to this country, I literally cleaned bathrooms with my mother as a first job, speaking no English. I sat through, business school with a dictionary, and I would record every lecture. I would come home, translate every word, or practically, because we came here no English at all. I mean, I knew 5 usual staple words. So, but it's been a blessing. And one thing I've learned, in this country, and I thank God every day I wake up. I thank God my kids were born here. Sometimes I still have dreams of living in former Soviet Union, I wake up like, okay, was this all a dream? So I understand what people are going through. I've gone through it, and and I know also what it takes, and I know what the opportunities are. And so when I see and hear, I kind of process it from my personal experience, and I understand, and that helps, because sometimes also, you could get very much disconnected from reality. So I could see this in many different levels. I see it in academia. I mean, some of the colleagues, are so esoteric and so numbers driven. Sometimes they just live in the world that doesn't exist in reality. And there's beautiful papers get published that nobody even reads, but there's something to hang. And if you want to have impact, nobody cares about, what your interest is. The point is what's the pain point? And what can you do to solve that and contribute to elevating humanity, if that's the scale, or on the most basic level. I mean, we started the society with the concept of doing just that, elevating humanity. But a lot of people want to save the world, but their own house is a mess. And so our approach and informing it, society with many people is look. You got to take care of your home. I mean, there's a reason why when you get on the airplane, they say, put a mask on yourself before you take care of your children or others. And it's not because they don't matter. It's just that if you cannot take care of yourself, you cannot help anybody else. So we kind of, there's an expression in few religions, you got to keep your head up in the sky, with God and bigger things, but your feet have to be firmly planted in the ground. And that's how I try to walk and talk and do, and try to kind of encourage others to do the same.
So there was a point in your career, and I may have been witness to some of those. I have been witness to some of them. Where it kind of took the turn, or where it developed, is an interesting question to me, or to hear your answer to. But there was a certain point when you went from helping businesses, working with different corporations, to actually working with heads of state, working with world leaders, working with people who were trying to make their own countries. What happened at that point? And if you could describe maybe your thought process that was going on at that point.
The question about transitioning, is that the question?
Yes.
I started, when I started on Wall Street, and, I became a CPA, and then the firm sponsored me to executive degree in law. So I got my doctorate, postdoctorate. So I've done, I ran a firm that was practicing nationally, bearing my name. And it was always cool, but I would always ask a question to myself every now and then: am I doing what I should do? Like I try not to go on autopilot ever. I actually been talking, my youngest son's friends flew in, and they were visiting us, and they were asking me questions, and one of the questions was like, what do you think? What do you think the formula? What do you think like you've done really right? And they expected me to talk about certain direction, profession, this business, and the reality is what really worked for me is not to ever to go on autopilot, no matter how successful it is, no matter how good it is. And I've been blessed. Anything I've been involved in kind of tend to work well. And usually that sucks you in, and you just get kind of complacent, and you continue to develop. If it works, especially, why not? And with me, it was never the case, and the same with the personal level, by the way, with my wife. So I would always stop, every now and then, and say, okay, am I doing what I should be doing? And where I should be doing. The same with personal life. Are we doing the right thing? Should we have another kid? Are the kids doing the right thing? Should we get them involved in something else? Should we drastically change where we live? Because I always I cannot kind of deal with complacency, so to speak, no matter on what level it is. And so this question, and ultimately, like Maslow theory, right? When you take care of your basic needs and food, shelter, clothing, you always think about, okay, what bigger thing, what self-actualization, is element of it is missing, and what impact can we have? And so what really kind of been driving me and guiding me is, am I using the time that I have in this world, and my energy and my health, right? Because everything's interconnected, in a way that maximizes the impact and results. And so that was the question I I kept always asking myself, again, personal, business, family, and our kids at some point would laugh, actually, because we would go away with my wife once in a while, just a couple of days. And then as we have fun, we always talk about, and we sometimes come back, okay, well, guys, we're moving.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly how it was. But it also, you need kind of to come out from your normal routine, because the mind is so wound up. So sometimes you don't think clearly, right? That's why, it's good to pause or just to relax, take a few days before you make some, major decisions. So anyway, to answer your question, Bruce, is it was always about, am I doing where, I generate the biggest impact? And this was kind of a natural progression, small business, medium, okay, helping transform businesses nationally, locally, around the world. And then, well, what else comes? And ultimately, I was blessed while helping businesses. Some of them asked me to engage with some governments and kind of negotiate and things. And that's when some governments noticed me. And that's how, it was all natural progression, basically. The beauty of this life is if you put out, the right, good things, right, and right energy, and you also set your mind in certain direction, things kind of evolve, and it's been naturally evolving process for me. And you're right, one of the many blessings that I've had is also, ultimately to move from kind of having an impact on local, national business, individuals, some families, right, that wanted me to help them represent their interests. Sometimes, some people don't want to stay in the back and have somebody handle things. But also beyond that, on the kind of country level. And you're right. Also, one thing that kind of came into my world is also help kind of develop countries and even create countries. And that's one of the big focus areas for me now as well. And this is where society also gets involved, because, there's a lot of tools in the box that society has to help countries develop. And we do that. And we kind of, this is a very exciting path.
It is. It's a very exciting path. And, for a lot of people will watch this. You'll watch it on your TV, maybe in Texas or Louisiana, or you'll watch it streaming around the world. It'll probably get replayed, so people all over the world will watch it. But if you haven't traveled around the world, it a lot of times you don't realize that there's new things happening all the time. And that, there are new countries that are being birthed, and there are these new relationships and ended, right? I mean, unfortunately or fortunately. So I always thought that was very interesting. And then if you fast forward, you talk about the evolution of things into this now Lives Amplified that you have right now. You have multiple former heads of state on here. I'm sure that you have heads of state that are involved. Like you said, you can't list those ones on there. They can't have those affiliations. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Let's talk about Lives Amplified and how the value add for people that may be watching.
Yeah, well, I'll start at the end and then we'll move backwards. But in terms of value add, Lives Amplified has three major focus areas and categories. We do want to impact the world and improve lives of people around the world, well-being of humanity, and that's kind of one focus area. And it sounds crazy when people have these conversations, and people who talk about trying to change lives and impact, the crazy people usually end up doing it. I believe Steve Jobs said it at some point, right? So it's been a treat in that regard, and that's kind of one direction. Another direction is, and then along that way to help those who try to do that and give them the platform. Another element is business, right? I mean, I come from former Soviet Union, so I know, the nonprofit is very important. Kind of the social element of it's critical, but as long as somebody is there to pay the bill, that's another, massive person of this life, Margaret Thatcher, who said that, it's all good as long as there is somebody paying a bill or something like that. So there's a big focus on access, connections, networking, and everything else. And the third element is, which is as important, to be honest with you, is just personal fulfillment and life and joy. We don't believe in taking life too seriously, because otherwise it gets shorter than it already is. So with every engagement, with every event, we have some very, very special experiences and our guests and members have amazing time. And so, and one thing to understand also, now I kind of, so that's kind of the value, so to speak. And there's a lot under each element. And you are correct. It's amazing group. If you look at, the board, we do have, I believe it's the largest gathering of heads of states outside of the United Nations in the business setting. And you are correct. We have current and former heads of states on the board and involved with the society, and we even future, like somebody you're showing now, by the way, President Tuto from Bolivia. He served as a president, amazing gentleman, and he recently announced that he's going to run again, and we're quite sure he's going to win again. So we try not to keep, and we don't keep on the board current heads of states, because that has not certain consequences. So if he does win, he's going to have to step out and do his tenure, and then as others then come back. But we do have also people who are senior government dignitaries who are involved with the society, and members of the society, and honorary members of the society, including ambassadors, including consul generals, current, representing many countries from around the world. And some of them, you could find on the website, and of course there are many others. And so, and the whole thing, it has always been kind of a private network, as it's usually the case. And the groups, and in different shapes and forms, been doing a lot of amazing work in humanitarian format, in business around the world. And of course, some names are more recognizable than others. And we have representation from all across the world. I mean, there's Europe, Asia, Africa, Latin America, Caribbean, right? So, which is critical and important. And so, and over the years, people have been learning and wanting to be involved, and it's a quite recent phenomena. The decision was made very, very recently to formalize kind of the engagement organization, and this is the counterintuitive part, to have a bigger impact on the world, to really step back for the group and serve more as a platform that enables great people with great hearts, first and foremost, and minds, to get to the next level and to accomplish their goals, and thus to have a bigger impact in the world, right? Because again, it's all about how can we have the bigger impact with the limited time and whatever else that we have. And so, as a result of that, two entities were created. One is Lives Amplified Foundation, and that's NGO, nonprofit. This is where nonprofit related matters, and we help develop policies. We work with organizations around the world, and academic institutions, its leaders, etc., and of course get involved with events, spending around the United Nations, a World Economic Forum, etc. And then the other entity is a business entity that does a lot of financing for nonprofit arm and generates cash flows for that, and that's Global Leaders Society, called Lives Amplified. And this is where we put together amazing events, and the focus there, as I said, is just to help our members get to the next level, and whether it's on the personal, professional, business, and that's done basically through providing unique access and connections. You're absolutely correct. And so we do that kind of in three main ways. One is we've been putting together very elegant, beautiful events in all most famous and recognized places, and it's always high caliber networking, and we always have some of the largest family offices of the world, venture capital, hedge funds, executives of multinationals. But the idea was not to make it stuffy, so we do have professionals, we do have startups who are trying to get to that next level. And this was a big focus, because everyone, whether you're a startup or multi-billionaire, everybody wants kind of something next, right? So, in every single event, we've had a president or prime minister of a country as a special guest of honor. And it's not the situation the way you usually find. If you come to an event where a president speaks, they give a speech and then they kind of bolt out. So, because these are all members of the society too, so they always hang out and answer questions and form relationships, take pictures. There's a lot of videos and on the website, so people could see.
Yeah, I might play one once you're done here. I'm gonna.
Yeah. So and we always have special experiences. So in one event, let's say if we do I believe in April we met in Argentinian waterfront steakhouse. So it was beautiful venue. So we had Argentinian tango show, and time before, we had fire show with Black Red Caviar Experience. And last event we did in Miami was South Beach, South Beach was an amazing venue. And so we had award-winning band, and Drew Estates came in as a sponsor for fine cigars, and we had some amazing spirits there. So it's always kind of to amplify both on personal and business level and relationships. Of course, it's amazing networking. The second focus is business, so in the deal flow. So because of the nature of society, its members, boards, strategic partners, anything on the local, national level, goods, services, capital raising, commodities, strategic partnership, all the way to global level opportunities, access to new markets, people interested in government contracts, and of course everything in between. And the third area, and this is the most interesting, Bruce, there are plenty of places with some networking and even quality networking. And yes, it's amazing. It's unique access, connections, and all that stuff. But what makes it even more different and unique, I would say, and I would even say uniquely powerful, is that when members join, they don't need to walk the march of how things operate. They could create completely custom experiences for themselves, what they want, and they do that utilizing the magnet that society is. Because you put on one side people who run countries, right? Presidents, prime ministers, and other dignitaries. The other side's the capital of the world. Of course, one cannot live without the other, but together they attract everybody. Our members use that because you can't just get into the society; you have to be invited, and our members get tickets, and they could invite their potential partners, strategic partners, clients, etc. And of course, there are plenty of events, but people recognize that this is very unique and different. You just have to look on the website quickly, and you quickly get the idea. So we've been packed from day one, and that's been a wonderful blessing. And we created leadership opportunities, so people could serve as position of chair or council. And council is usually their focus area, their business or nonprofit. There's opportunity for that, and that many people, by the way, live all over the world and never even come to the events, but they become members. I think there are three main reasons. One is it's highly prestigious. Not everybody gets approved, of course, on the society level, and you enter this exclusive environment, and some people, it's their biggest item on their resume that they kind of showcase, even if they served in major capacities in the government or private enterprises. Another one, that people could participate in the business and deal flow without ever coming to events. There's separate membership for that. And the third is, and that's very interesting, some of our members actually taking a lead to create events in their countries, towns, and they use the society as a magnet to attract exactly whom they want to do business with, right? Potential clients, again, parties, and we support it, and we're flying global leadership to kind of magnify their impact, and it works in amazing ways. Just to give you one of the latest examples, one of our members in the society, just recently, a few years ago, entered into real estate arena in South Florida, and was, really wanted to connect with the biggest players. And, these things usually take 5, 10, 15 years if you get lucky, right? The biggest developers. And, she became a member. And instead of reaching out as, hi, my name is this and this, so I'm a member of Lives Amplified, and we're going to be putting an event together on real estate development. We had the biggest builders, the biggest developers, some of the biggest players in financing investments, government representative, and also from global, smart city development. And all these people, they were grateful to the member because, it should create opportunity for them to participate. Wonderful lady, her name is Isha, and it worked for everybody, and it worked for other members. So this is, that's the idea, to serve as a platform for people to take advantage of it, right? And those who are motivated, who are energized, this is the uniquely powerful tool. And one thing that, and something that I should probably address, people may think, oh my goodness, I could never become part of it, I could never afford this. And this is, we walk the talk in terms of accessibility. So we subsidize memberships heavily. Those of you who are familiar with private organizations, including Tiger 21s of the world, you don't have to pay 80, 100, 150,000 a year to have access to the events. It's actually like on the personal level, the membership starts from 3,500, and you have access to all our general events. It's that simple. We subsidize it, and the deal flow subsidizes it because, again, we want to create access, but just bear some, and that's for the entire year, by the way. And the events were in Florida, New York, and again, the plan is, and the events are being prepared all over the world. And of course, there are higher level memberships, people who want something more exclusive, connections to investors or meeting with certain individuals. Then, memberships run all the way to 50, 100,000, but most people don't need this. And you can't really apply anyway, by the way, directly there. You have to become a general member first. And there's a corporate membership there as well, which is, again, a tiny fraction what anybody would expect. And then, based on experience, people get invited to higher level membership. So it's quite unique. It's quite amazing. And one more thing I wanted to quickly mention, we kicked off Society Forums, which is incredible. They're online, by the way. These are Zoom calls, video calls every month. And this is also an opportunity for people without flying anywhere, travel anywhere, to meet, to participate, to discuss. But we use this forum in a way that is very powerful. It's not simply networking or discussion of business. This is where our business leaders, entrepreneurs are able to share their pain and suffering with those who are in the same shoes, who understand them better than anybody else. Because, this role of a leader, we can't really talk to employees or clients. We got to, march the march and do the talk, but sometimes we all need to talk to others. And it's been very powerful so far, and people share their experiences, perspective, which was mind-blowing actually to see. So, and that's been happening every month. And there are some, sometimes for general events we have some guest passes as well. So yeah.
Very awesome. So it's interesting. I want to play the video. I'm going to play the video in a second, and then I want to talk a little bit more even about how it works, because the Lives Amplified is as well the way you have the structure. You are incentivized to help people succeed as well. Everybody does like the events. You and I both know that. It's a nice reel that you have here on the website. Let's watch that, and then we'll circle back.
My name is Russ Wilcox, and I'm CEO of Artifacts AI. I think that this is a marvelous society to do good for the world. If we take a look at institutions like the UN, they have good intentions, but they lack the capital. Here at Lives Amplified, we're able to bring together folks from a variety of different backgrounds, both from the private equity side, from the AI side, from the development side, from the philanthropy side, and really create an ecosystem that can change the world. I think this is an absolutely phenomenal event. I think that the camaraderie is great, but it's amplified by the intellectual diversity, by the philanthropic side, by the money side. I think there's such an opportunity here. I joined as an individual member a few weeks ago, and I will be joining as a corporate member before the end of the year. This was the first event I've been to, and I was just blown away at every level, and I cannot wait to participate more.
My name is Diego Ojeda. I am a real estate developer. I am the president of a family business called Rylea Group, based in Miami, based in Brooklyn. The society is a very interesting organization, and it's a real pleasure to be a part of it and to be able to have the opportunity to be on the panel. Really, to me, it was the mix of people, the backgrounds. It's amazing seeing world leaders here and ambassadors and just people of such high posts. The conversation was fantastic. Get involved. It would be a good idea to join. And you'll be a part of such an interesting network of people from around the world, not only from around the world, but that have had such high posts and that have such a large wealth of knowledge that they can share. Big people's brains here is priceless.
My name is Michael John Green. I'm the Chief of Economic Development and Strategy for the Miami DDA. I like the mix of individuals is what I liked about the event most. I think that you had dignitaries, business people, finance folks, folks in tech, and the conversation was really interesting. It also seems like everyone is really not only interested in themselves and being successful, but also making sure that everyone else is successful. I think that people who have never experienced Live Amplified, I think that it's an amazing group of unique people that are rarely brought together in one spot, and the type of networking that you can do and to build a relationship, I think can last you a long time and make sure that not only you have a fruitful life, but a fruitful career. I would definitely be interested in becoming a member of the society because of the network, but also because of who the people individually are and how they're looking forward for the future of people, for the future of humanity.
My name is Honorable George Hamilton. I'm the Consul General Ambassador for Sierra Leone to Miami. I covered countries like Venezuela, Canada, Chile, Jamaica. I cover about 9 other countries. And one of the reasons I choose to be part of the honorary member is because it uplifts lives, and that's one of my positions of representing my country in Florida, and then also a remarkable network.
My name is Dr. Betty Uribe. I just finished a $358 billion turnaround in California for JP Morgan Chase. And my life changed after I spoke at the National Prayer Breakfast. And I talked to 1,600 leaders from 91 countries. I love this society. Not only is everybody aligned with the core values, but they're very successful. We have leaders here from all over the world at the highest levels. And so you get direct access. And if you think about how it would be outside of these doors to be able to get access to the kind of people that are here, it really is phenomenal. Thank you for creating this environment so that all of us can thrive.
My name is Tiffany. My name is Nia Leona Seville. I thought the society was an incredible experience.
I feel very grateful to be surrounded by such intelligent, successful people.
Mauricio Bejar with Habitat Group. We are a real estate development company here in South Florida, in Miami. It's an honor to be a part of this group. I was very impressed with the participation of the quality of the people that came to the event, the number of people as well, and how it was well organized and run. I definitely think that it will be a plus for us to be able to be a part of this selected group with the high net worth individuals, with the family offices.
My name is Johnny Ching, Dr. Johnny Ching. If you want success, this is the launch pad for going up to the moon. I met many professionals, politicians, technologists, and financiers that I would have never met on any other platform in this such short period of time. Use the opportunity. Don't do it tomorrow. You did it yesterday.
Nick Schreiber. I have a small family office. The society is fantastic. You're talking to people with disparate backgrounds, different types of ideas. It's a tremendous thing if you're looking to diversify your mind and open up your mind into different thoughts. This is how you do it. Because life is about connections and who you talk to and who you know. This is a fantastic idea. Spending the time here, it gets the juices going, you know?
Excited, motivated, inspired, meeting the right people with the right energies that speak to you at the right level. But most importantly, everyone is ambitious in a good way. They're trying to improve themselves, their lives, and it's like-minded people.
My name is Meryl Gladstone Petraccia. I founded 11 Plus Legacy Alliance, which is a company based out of the United States and works in different parts of the world. I'm excited to be a corporate member. They have blended heart with impact in such a beautiful way that it almost feels like a business home, really. What I loved about the event today was the expertise in the different areas. It's a warm place to be. It's I love the spirit. I love the spirit of the people here and what they're here to accomplish to impact the world and elevate humanity. And it's obvious. It's not lip service. Here, this is what people are doing with their time in their lives. I'm humbled and I very much respect that. And just thank you for keeping up the work so that we can all plug in and we can amplify what it is that we're doing with you.
I am a member. I just became a member of the society, and I can't tell you how excited I am. I am a corporate member, in the moment I had a conversation with Steven, I realized absolutely I will sign up. I signed up immediately. I put in my money, and here I am. Just a few days later, I flew in from Colombia just to be here. So, and I will never look back. This is absolutely the right time in the right place for me to bring my company and my efforts, and I'm going to be bringing other people as well.
It's amazing, and I'll tell you what, that woman, she just makes you smile, right? Every time she talks, she really has it. She really just you can tell she's a very, very special person.
Yeah, we're really blessed, the people. Another reality of our lives, like we all meet a lot of good people. Wish we met more, but there's a lot of really good people. But the truth is, unless there is some bond, there is some element where we interact on a regular basis, we don't get to talk to each other. Like everybody's too busy.
Yeah.
So that's another amazing blessing for members and everybody who's involved, because number one, you meet incredible people, because it's a pre-selection process, of course, right? We want to make sure that somebody who is a good, decent human being, again, first and foremost, that they want to have an impact, they do something, and it doesn't have to be a huge thing. It could be local business, but local business is important. Everything is local, right? That's how you make a difference, or whatever you do. And the other thing I'd like to stress also, on the foundation side for nonprofits, people don't pay a penny to become members on the foundation, Lives Amplified Foundation. We completely subsidize it. So they're able not just to become members, they're able to become leaders within Lives Amplified Foundation. As I said, this is a recent phenomenon in terms of formal entity creation. So we're going to be kicking off some events. Of course, there is a firewall, right, between the foundation and the membership, private society. But at some point, there's going to be cross pollination and everything else as well. So, and we have foundations and nonprofits that are applying for membership from all over the world: the U.S., Africa, Asia, Europe, and they're able to use, without paying a dollar a penny. This is another way we kind of give back. The society's magnet to do what they do, to help raise with funding, to engage and have bigger access to the counterparty, strategic partners, whatever they want to engage. They use the society magnet for that. And in that case, it's the foundational board. So there are all these and many more opportunities. And this is kind of, these are some of the ways that we help those who want to do good get it done, and get it done easier, faster. Because ultimately, even those who are super capable and work hard and everything else, they're gonna get there. But it's how long, right? So it's all about timing, and it's getting easier and faster, and amplifying the impact. This is our mission, and that's what you're kind of seeing, and this is why the energy of people that you see is what it is.
Yeah, well, you put that many amazing people together, and wonderful things happen. So it's also an agreement, and you're incentivized to help. So if somebody comes in, they want to raise $100 million. I mean, I even have somebody in mind. I'm gonna send this recording to him. As a matter of fact, you'll probably talk to him very soon. We'll talk to him together. But he's big in the gold stuff, with some amazing relationships. He needs to put together 200 million for to rent the equipment, basically, is what you have to do, or you buy it, one way or the other. The lines get blurred when it's that much machinery, I think, but he would know more about it than I would. So somebody like that comes in, and we are able to put him in front of the right people, and we put together a deal, and that makes everybody money, and that's an important part of this equation.
Yeah, I agree, and it's actually critical, because again, in order to make the world go around, there's a lot of moving parts for that, but one of them is funding, right? And also, to be honest with you, what really, especially again coming from former Soviet Union, when sometimes we wouldn't have food, right? And my mother would ship me literally to her sister just to eat for a day. And the more money is made by people, again, with the right minds, the more people we all could make happy, right? Because money makes a difference. Do you get access to healthcare, good nutrition, and et cetera, et cetera. It's education, everything else. So yes. And in terms of incentivizing people, we were thinking there's an enormous amount of people out there who do good, but they're not where they can be financially. And there's a lot of people also who are great connectors. They know a lot of people, right? But quite often people struggle to monetize their access and connections. And so one of the things that was on the table to kind of address, discuss, and figure out a way is to create an opportunity for people to make money, not just with what they do and for us to help them, but also with and through the society. And this is what you're referring to. So I'll be happy to elaborate on that. So society, we really, we don't really advertise. I appreciate the invitation to be in the program. It's an honor, Bruce, and it's always, as I said, a pleasure to do anything with you and to have a conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'll tell you, I went for a morning walk with my wife. Summer we're running away from Florida into a cooler place in the mountains, but we usually go for a quick walk. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to be talking to Bruce later. She goes, Bruce Porter, with two wonderful girls, and she remembers you. You're an amazing, sweet man, and
amazing.
And
Thank you.
Yeah, and she saw the recording, whatever we did years ago. So she knows you very well, and she understood my joy, because we're all wired. We're all suckers for great relationships. Bottom line, some of us more than others. So again, I thank you. I thank God and you for the opportunity for us to speak purely on the personal level. But to answer your question, so what society did was, because it's all by invitation, it's all by kind of people kind of spreading the word. There's no real advertising, anything, at least so far. And there's no plan for anything meaningful in the near future. But when people introduce members, and again, memberships, start at a certain level, as I mentioned, but they go all the way up and up and up into 100,000 plus. These people make money on all the cash flow that comes in on the membership, plus on all the renewals, and it's 10 to 20%, which is quite meaningful. Just pure introduction, 10%. If somebody wants to be a little bit more involved, then it becomes 20%, which again, depending on the person's situation, etc. If they want to talk about society, give a link, etc. So and we even have an accounting firm that is on retainer, and all they do, they send out wires, which is pretty cool and makes us very happy. Some of the happiest moments, by the way, when people who would never expect, and it happens all the time, all of a sudden, say, oh, by the way, we need your wire instruction, and there's going to be money coming in, and quite often it's quite substantial. And on top of that, society, one of the reasons we're able to subsidize our membership level, so people don't have to pay what they would think they would need to pay, is because society gets an interest, has a percentage of the business that happens within society, right? So people expand their business, whatever they do, get money. So society gets a percentage of that, and whoever introduces that business gets percentage. Society gets, again, it varies depending on transaction, whatever, but the person gets 10% of whatever comes into society who introduced the deal, right? And I'll tell you something even more. What we've done is, some people are highly connected, so they bring a lot of the introduced people. They create these group chats, and they do put together their own Zooms, and they ask me to come in to just talk briefly. But some people don't know anybody. They may know just one person, right? But who's like yourself, highly connected, right? And if that person introduces, let's say, you, and you're the one who introduces all these business opportunities and members and sponsors, strategic partners, well, you would be the one making, or whoever that person is, making this 10, 20%, etc. But the person who introduced you receives 10% of anything that you or whoever else makes, right? So again, and it gets substantial, and it is only including on the business side of it and membership, and it's all ongoing, and that's how. And it's all on the record, everybody else, and we have write-ups on this also. So that's very exciting to people from all over the world, because now they're able to not just grow their businesses, not just raise capital, not just access amazing people, and have a great time while doing it, and and have all these experiences, but in the same time also start making money just purely by bringing wonderful information and news, because people are always grateful no matter what it is. And I think it's a no-brainer. The world doesn't, society is not a secret, but the world doesn't know about it. So when people learn about it from somebody, they're always grateful. It's a major value somebody delivers. And serious people, serious business people tend to become members, do some business, sponsorship, whatever. Then these people also make money, and it's on an ongoing basis. So it's been a wonderful additional blessing to create these cash flow opportunities, and it's really passive cash flow and ongoing. Once somebody gets introduced, they just collect funding. So real blessing, and we bring a lot of joy, smiles, and money into people's accounts, which is really cool.
Well, I can attest to it as well firsthand. So that is it is something that is it is remarkable, and the amounts are considerable. So I think it's an important part about it. I wanted to bring it up. For the average person that is going to want to join, they're going to want to come in, they're going to want to build their business, they're going to want to meet people that may not be part of your business plan. But for some people, that's going to be quite possibly a remarkable situation. And so I wanted to bring it up. And it's great that you guys share like that, because it shows that it's about growing. In order to grow, it's like I tell the guys, they start their companies and they have all these coins, or they have all these stocks and this and that and the other. And you have to get those coins, you have to get those stocks out to the people. Otherwise, you can never grow. And that's and so that's important.
Yeah, there are many ways to grow, by the way, in many unexpected ways. I mean, to be honest with you, some of our members actually, it was never ever discussed. Okay, but we also have, for a certain level of membership, more exclusive experiences and access, of course, right? And some of our members became members of royal courts already, and it's just, I mean, it was completely unexpected. But there was an event, we had some government representatives there, and kingdom, and one thing after the other within a very short period of time. So I mean, that's kind of on one side, but the other side I also wanted to tell you, we do have members that are just professionals, and when I say just, meaning, because I don't want to give a sense that this is only for these major companies or wealthy people. Absolutely not. In fact, we work very hard not to make it stuffy. A lot of our members also, and we keep getting that feedback, because good ideas, nobody has monopoly of good ideas, and these investors also, hedge funds. One of our members, I don't want to use names because it's a private society, but some of these people on our videos, you played one video, there's our events covered by many different videos, and you could actually meet him. I just don't want to say exactly, but major venture capitalist, and he said, Steve, I also want, this is why one of the reasons I love the society, because it's a beautiful, amazing mix. And some people just trying to get into the business world, they may not know how to do it, they may not have the capital to do it, but they have a brilliant idea. And I want to meet these people because I want to fund their dreams if it makes sense. That's what we do. So I want to make sure, and this is important point to stress, that it's not, and also it's been priced, to make sure that practically anybody could afford this. And we even provide payment plans, to support, as crazy it may sound too, to break whatever, just to help people get there while covering. And as I said, a foundation for nonprofits, they don't pay a penny. And it just have to be approved. Unfortunately, there's too many nonprofits that look and sound like nonprofit, but there is nothing happening there. And that's, frankly speaking, my experience, unfortunately, vast majority of them. But if we see something real and we see some activity, we want to support it. And this is where they don't spend a penny. We just help them gain this next level of access, connections, by them using the foundation, again, the uniquely, amazingly powerful magnet to attract to them whom they want to attract, including investors, funders, sponsors, strategic partners, et cetera, et cetera.
Amazing. Well, I want this to fit in to an hour-long segment, so I think that we'll call it for today. We're going to be talking a lot more. Lives Amplified, guys. Make sure to check them out. Lives amplified.org. If you want to go directly to my referral link, it's /ref/impact money. Impact money, right? Impact money. That's my brand. So Impact Money. As well, if you would like to talk to Dr. Stephen Melnick, you can reach me there. I have my Calendly scrolling across the bottom. Reach out to me, and we can set that up. We can make it happen. There's a lot that we can do, and I think that we will do. And I appreciate you coming on, Dr. Melnick. It's always a pleasure.
It's a real treat, Bruce, to spend time with you. It's beyond pleasure for me, and you know this. I've always been telling you this for many, many years. You're an amazing man. You have an amazing soul. You're a great father. You're a great husband. You want to do the good thing, the right thing. I've seen you in action all over the world, each time some crazy place, which always been wonderful. And yeah, for your audience, you know, we're happy to support their efforts, and people could participate in many ways. You don't have to, by the way, one doesn't even have to be a member to benefit from society, to make money through the society. There are many pathways to do that. There are other people who could engage by simply hosting events, or it's really endless. So we invite people to be open-minded and really take advantage of the opportunity. Like with anything else in business, you know, with real estate, they say it's all about location, right? With opportunity, it's all about timing. And we have a lot of leadership positions available, and you know, whatever other opportunities, whatever you do, you meaning the person who's watching your programming, and if you feel it could be beneficial to you and it could benefit our member society, which is what it's all about. You know, we ask just 2 questions when people apply for the membership, and there's a way to do it online too on the site. One is, you know, what are you looking to gain from the society? What do you really want to do? But the other side is, you know, how could you benefit other members, right? Because it's critical. I mean, with everything that there is, but we also want members supporting each other, which has been wonderful, wonderful experience, as you've seen in some of the videos. So yeah, it's been a real pleasure, Bruce. Thank you for your time. I look forward to more, and anything that we can do to support your efforts, it would be our pleasure.
Amazing. Well, it's where you mentioned your wife. My wife, of course, knows Stephen Melnick as well. I mentioned I talked to you the other day. Obviously, I gave her a little bit of the news as well, and I send my best as well to your wife. And I have like I said, a lot of respect for you. You have a beautiful family as well. You know, having a family is something I tell the young guys all the time. Don't miss it, guys. Don't miss the moment. And if you did, it's okay. Life is life. You go on. But if you're in that spot, don't miss it. It's a beautiful thing, and you definitely want to do it. And you have a beautiful family as well. Happy to have you on. It's a big pleasure and big honor. Thanks so much, and we'll have you on again. See you
Bruce,
soon.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Looking forward.
Your voice
And
is
my best regards.
when
And my
combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.